I just built a full stainless steel pool heater. And in the last episode, I improved its efficiency by adding a copper coil in the chimney, thus increasing its heating capacity by 53%. But one problem remained. The combustion chamber runs cold. Don't get me wrong, it's perfect for roasting marshmallows, but as a pool heater, not so much. You see, you need a very hot fire to burn all the fuel in the wood efficiently, but since the heater's water jacket keeps pulling heat out of the fire, reaching those high temps is pretty hard, and that's a big problem. But maybe I found a solution. Yeah, let's turbo that thing. Well, sort of, and definitely not with a hairdryer. Another issue I have with the heater is that it's pretty long, and the small intakes I put below the door don't let enough air reach all the way to the back. Most of the time I have to crack the door open to let the fire breathe, and hopefully the blower should resolve that problem too. And after a bit of research, I found out that boilers often use blowers too. So it must be a good idea. The only problem with my heater is that I can't just drill new holes anywhere I want, because inside it's completely surrounded by water. There's water on this side, on that side too, here, there. You get the point, it's water all around, except at the very front. Luckily, there's a small 1-inch wide section where I can drill an air intake. And since I want to blow air in from the bottom, right where the fire burns the hottest, I think the best spot for the new hole is right there. And yes, I thought of supplying air through the second stage intake. A quick recap, the second stage is providing fresh air from the top, but because the exhaust gases are exiting in that direction too, and the hotter part of the fire is definitely its bed, I thought it wouldn't be as efficient as having it in the bottom. So for now, no forced air for the second stage. Back on the blower's inlet, where the only tubing I could find to fit between the two intakes is a 1x2, which I think should be enough. Well, to find out, I think I should introduce you to the blower itself. Actually, it's not a blower, rather it's a variable speed duct fan. And I did look at blowers on the web, but couldn't set my mind on one, cause most of them had bad reviews and they look so tiny and fragile that instead I went with this fan. It's got a ton of CFM and should be plenty powerful. I mean, compared to the tiny air dryer, right? Viny from the future here? Boy, was I wrong. Back on the fan, where I want to connect it to the 1x2 tubing, maybe using ABS piping? If I could use some sort of reducer coupled with a few elbows, that could simplify things. Unfortunately, the reducer is pretty much the same size as the outlet. And yes, I could turn it on the lathe to make it fit, but I wouldn't be left with much meat. So I ditched the ABS idea for now and instead used this. I mean, just for now, for testing. Although all the reducing to get down to that 1x2 cost the fan quite a few CFM, I still think it looks promising. Convinced it would work, I started taking measurements. By the way, Viny, there's on top, watch your, don't stand up.
Ow!
Yeah, that. After my wife kissed the wound on top of my head, as we say in French, bec bobo, I designed this. So the fan will be at the back end, far from the front dose heat. I kinda want it hidden on the side there, since it's an afterthought. The more subtle, the better. It will be attached to the leg, cause that's pretty much the only place I can tap holes. Then the piping will go underneath the heater and wrap around the front section to go directly in the combustion chamber. Okay, in theory it sounds pretty easy, but in reality I need to poke a hole and make sure to stay clear of that welding line. Otherwise, I would have pierced the water jacket and I'll be fine.
Many months later.
Yeah, I don't have the patience that requires a pneumatic die grinder. Let's bring the big guns. Because I didn't have much room to use a grinder vertically, I drilled a series of holes, which worked surprisingly well. If it wasn't for the 100 degrees in this tropical weather, with that sun blasting its hot rays directly on me, it would have been a lovely afternoon job. Yeah, that was way too hot for my Canadian butt. But I eventually managed to make the rectangular cut, and after a bit of fiddling, I got the tubing through.
Hey, like poppin' Mom.
Just for fun in comparison, this new hole took me 45 minutes to make, because it was an afterthought. But if I had planned it in the original design, it would have taken seconds to make with the plasma table. Oh well. And it took that much time because I had to be very, very careful to not pierce through the water chamber. And now
I'm left with only 1/16 on this side. But it fits. Now let's make the tube.
this is the montage where I usually ask you to sub, like, and comment. But you know what? Not this time. Instead, thank you guys for watching my buffooneries and for sharing all your great tips and tricks in the comments. I read every single one of them, and I honestly feel lucky to have such a helpful community because, yeah, I don't know everything, and I highly appreciate your input. So, again, thank you, ladies and mostly gentlemen, for supporting this channel. Back on the project where... hold on.
Ça va? T'es correct? Je peux-tu parler maintenant? Merci.
As I was saying, where I want to use the TIG to weld the steel tubings. But my TIG setup is... well, I don't think we can call that a setup at all. But that's about to change, because I've got a new product for the welding fixture table, coming soon to my website and on the next video. By the way, this is the biggest tank I can buy in my region, and I'm looking to get a bigger one. I live in Quebec, so if you know someone that is selling one, or would like to partner with a silly YouTuber, let me know down below. Right, let's weld those tubings.
Marvelous.
Believe it or not, but that's the first time I'm welding steel with a TIG. Yeah, I know. But with a fixture table and a decent welder, it kinda looks good.
Look at that.
Yeah, really happy on how it turned out. Usually I make the things like there's no tomorrow, and if I feel fancy, I grind some of the blobs off. But here, nope, no grinding needed, and it looks like a pro had welded it. Right, now comes the tricky part. Because I want the air to blow from the bottom, managing the ashes will be a challenge. I really like how they designed a smart solution for the boilers, with swivel bottom louvers and a hash pan to clean the mess out, meaning minimum maintenance and max efficiency. Here I don't have that much space to get as creative. So option 1, I could drill a bunch of holes and add a flat bar just a few millimeters above to protect from small debris. The downside is that air will blow from the sides and not from the bottom, maybe reducing the boost I'm looking for. Or I could use fine mesh. I cut a section and weld it to a large cutout in the tubing. With so many holes in the mesh, even if a few get clogged, it should still work fine. My concern though is that most of the air will exit near the tubing's entry, and I want to make sure air also reaches the back of the heater, something I'm hoping to solve with the blower.
Actually, I'm gonna do a hybrid of these two ideas.
Yes, I'm gonna drill a bunch of big holes, and I'll use the mesh on top as hash guard. And to connect the fan to the tubing, I printed these. Sorry for all the red greens fan here, but you gotta admit that this is a better solution than duct tape. So that's the intake. I curved it down to prevent the water from the pool or rain from getting in. I think we all know what rain droplets are, but okay, Viny, 1 point for the effort. And that's the reducer from the fan to the 1.5" ABS pipe. And this is the coupler from the ABS to the 1x2 tubing. And that's pretty much how it will be assembled on the heater. Here I'm going with a very unscientific approach, basically just feeling it out to even the flow through the tubing's length, and drill new holes where I thought the flow was too weak. Viny, I think you should get a flow meter. You could get precise data to space out correctly the hole pattern, or plug holes with your fingers like a flute. I mean, whatever. To make ash cleaning easier, I bolted the back plate down so I can take it off once a year or so and tap the ashes out. And now I'm trying to show you how I got the flow even throughout the entire length. But flow meter again, Viny, come on, with actual numbers and stuff. So while a flat bar will definitely reduce the airflow, the mesh should stop small debris while still allowing the maximum air to pass through. To space it out from the tubing and to give it a bit more strength, I just made a simple bend. And because the heater's front rectangular hole is only big enough to let the tubing through, the mesh is not welded to it, but instead bolted down for ease of installation. With an aluminum base plate, I installed the fan and was ready to insert the tubing. Well, easier said than done. You see, tar has formed so thick at the bottom end that the refractory bricks are now stuck to the sides.
Much later.
But eventually I got it into place. Followed by the mesh guard. And with that final assembly, I cut to length the ABS pipe. And there it is, a side pipe looking blower. And the first test is disappointing. Even without the custom intake I built for it, something still felt off. Again, Viny, flow meter, getting actual data. Come on, man, let's spend some of that YouTube money. Well, we're the next day, and my OCD couldn't let go of that poor performance, so I decided to design and 3D print my own fan blade. And maybe it's my 20 plus years of mechanical designing that tricked me into thinking I could learn, design, and print a much better fan than this one in only a week. I mean, how hard could it be? I spent a full week in a giant rabbit hole that is the fans world, learning, designing, and printing fan blades, and I came to the conclusion that I know nothing about fans, and yes, that was 2 years. But here, I'll summarize that week of work and give you a basic overview with the end results. First thing first, I bought a flow meter. Thank you. Yeah, I know. It was about time, I know. Thank you. And using the 3D printed reducer coupled with the ABS pipe, I made this test bench. So during that week, I designed a bunch of those fan blades and swapped them on the test bench to collect data using the flow meter, but also using this contraption, which I designed inspired by the channel Major Hardware, a great channel if for whatever reason you're into fans. Which, weirdly enough, I guess I am now. Here the challenge is to push a maximum amount of air into a small 1x2 tubing, and that will create something known as static pressure. Simply put, the more you want to force air into something, the higher the internal pressure will be. And this device will help me evaluate how well each blade generates pressure by pushing on that flapping door. I also added a small basket to add weights if needed to break a tie between 2 blades. So the original fan blade did 33.4 kilometers per hour and pushed the door at 40 degrees, which is actually quite good. Then came my first design and printed fan, with less blade, but standing a bit higher and with a steeper angle, thinking it would push more air, and it sucked. And being the first print, I also struggled to hit the right fit with the motor shaft. I was aiming for a slight press fit, but now it's a solid piece with the motor. So I told it, next step, it's the freaking torch. And it sure did get the message.
Got it.
Design number dose, same number of blades, but with a reduced height, which also reduced the blade's pitch angle, thinking that will help create more static pressure, like a fine thread on a bolt that can apply more squeezing force. It pushed the door at the same angle, but with an increased wind speed. That's good, we're cooking now. Let's improve that recipe by adding a bit more spices, and by spices I mean blades. And that one, it did worse than the previous design. Okay, maybe let's go the other route and reduce the number of blades. And bam, what about 5? That thing killed it, and by killed it, it did better, slightly better, 37.8 kph, and close to 50 degrees on the pushing door contraption. That's 13% more wind speed, but close to 25% more pushing power. And remember that pushing power is what I'm after, because I want to squeeze more air in a smaller tube. Okay, let's get funky here and continue on that journey of less is more. What about 4 blades? Yeah, that one looks like it's straight out of the Blade Trinity movie. I know, it's the worst movie of the 3. Oh, you think I'm wrong? Comment below. Regardless, that fan blade did better than the original one, but a bit worse than Mr. Senko. So, Senko is our big winner. But Viny, with all this fan research you did, you should know that radial fans are better at building static pressure. Oh yeah, I know. And I've got 3 of those. But you see here, it's kind of a Goldilocks and the 3 Bears situation. This one is too big, this one is too powerful, and this one is too old. But I've gotta say, oldie was the right size, so I put it to the test. And boy, did it disappointed. Don't get me wrong, without the reducer, this thing was moving a shit ton of air. But once muzzled by the reducer, it was out of balance and performed like crap. Not even capable of reaching 30 kph, but was able to build a decent pressure with close to 40 degrees. Sorry, oldie, you didn't make the cut. Maybe oldie underperformed because its main bearing is shot, but I know exactly where to find a new one. Introducing JLCMC website. It's your one-stop mechatronic components marketplace, integrating a broad selection of parts with worldwide delivery, trusted quality and cost-effective pricing. Whether you're an engineer, manufacturer, or hobbyist, their extensive catalog ensures optimal solutions at prices that won't break your budget. Some of you may know, but I'm still a full-time mechanical designer, and what I'm looking for using such a platform is lead time, pricing, and CADs. So I'm gonna give you an example. I'm on the website, I'm looking for bearings. There you go, for oldie. That's pretty clever. I can select different diameters, but I already know the part number for oldie, so I'm gonna select a deep groove ball bearing. Okay, here we're gonna select 6001ZZ. Right off the bat, we get unit price, which is, wow, pennies, and ships within a day. So lead time, pretty good. Next thing I'm looking for is a CAD. There you go, right there. So I'm gonna select step and it's gonna open right away in SolidWorks. Simple as that. So as we've seen, it's fast shipping with competitive prices. I mean, what's not to like? And right now, new registers will get $70 in coupon. So check the link down below. And thank you, JLCMC, for sponsoring this video. Right, back on the turbofan where Senko was bolted to the motor for the last time. Except it wasn't. You see, now that I have a flow meter, my OCD told me to reinstall the original setup to check for max wind speed. And keep in mind that the airflow has been spread throughout the tubing's length, so the wind speed number will be a lot lower than what we've seen on the test bench. And the max it reached was 4.3 kph. Then I reinstalled Senko for the last time, I think, and run the same test, which gave us 6.4 kph. That's a gain of 52% over the original setup. And that number proved that I took the right path of making my own fan blades, instead of just hoping for the best with the original setup. Now, last safety feature I have to install, a limit switch. The goal is to cut the fan's power as soon as I open the door. Because you see, being bald, every bit of beard hair I manage to keep from burning helps my marriage survive another day. You could say it's literally hanging by a thread. Right, here my smart Canadian has changed the game. What about some shade, Viny? Please don't break, please don't break, please don't break.
Nice. Ah. God.
And I wired it backwards. Good job, Viny.
2 very boring minutes later.
First try.
And oh, my inlet funnel print finished just in time for the first test. I made the edge round in hopes to use the Coanda effect to my advantage to bring even more air into the fan. What is the Coanda effect, you might ask? Well, you know, the phenomenon where a fluid tends to follow the contour of a nearby curved surface instead of flowing straight. Yeah, that's the Coanda effect. So that's the effect I was aiming for here. By having a round edge, it should ease more air into the fan. At least, that's the theory. After replacing the new inlet funnel, I retested and got a 6.8. Okay, that's not a big gain, but as she said, every quarter inch counts. I mean, that's what she told me. And there you have it, the final version of the blower is installed. Tomorrow, we'll see how much efficiency the heater gained. If you're asking yourself, why do I keep on improving this heater? At least that's what my wife keeps asking me. It's because I want this thing to be quick. Very quick. I want to heat up the pool as fast as possible. I have no interest in planning days in advance when I want to go for a swim. If it's a nice and sunny day, I'll start a fire and in just a few hours the pool will be nice and warm. At least, that's the goal. Right, let's test the fan for the first time.
Oh yeah.
To say the least, it's very effective.
Let's go, baby. Wow.
We can see the difference it makes in seconds. And my precious beer hair can feel the increased heat from the fire. Not too close, buddy. Remember the marriage. I let the heater do its thing for a few minutes and the smoke got clear. At least clearer than it used to be without the blower. And that's a very good sign because we're probably burning more unburned fuel contained in the exhaust gases. I also check if the second stage will magically start working. Remember, the second stage is supposed to pull in fresh air and ignite the unburned fuel in the smoke, but still not working. If you have any suggestions or a fix, let me know down below. Then I started gathering data. First, the front door got to 420 degrees. This is unprecedented. And the bottom chimney got to 510, which is pretty nice, because once the smoke passed through the copper coil, it dropped to 340, an ideal temperature to avoid corrosive buildup, at least according to this cheap temp indicator. For the pool's water temp, we started the day at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and after an hour, we got to 77, then on the next hour, 78.
It's been 3 hours now.
81 in 3 hours? Whoa, that's plus 6 degrees.
5 hours. 5 hours.
84. Okay, I think we should stop there.
9 degrees in 5 hours. Yeah, personal best.
Since I used the heater 2 more times, I collected data, and on average, I saw an increase of 4.5 degrees from the heater alone, and from the copper coil, plus 16 degrees. Right, let's bring back the IDP GPM, or increase in degrees per gallon per minute, which again means absolutely nothing. It's just to do a comparison between heater's version and to check how much efficiency we gain with the added blower. So for version 1, we got 50 gallon per minute with an increase of 3 degrees, giving us 150 IDP GPM. Version 2, with the copper coil, we got a grand total of 230 IDP GPM, a gain of 53% over version 1. And final version number 3, we got a grand total of 340 IDP GPM, a gain of 72% over version 2. Meaning from version 1 to version 3, the heater gained a whopping 125% of efficiency. Well, efficiency measured in time and not in wood consumption. You see, I never waited the wood burn in the first setup versus the current version. But I know now it's more since it burns faster with the blower. And that was the original goal, heating the pool as quickly as possible. But maybe since the fire got hotter, it should also burn more efficiently the wood. I just don't have the data to prove it. So, main goal achieved, and to give you a perspective on how it's performing better over time. On average, for the original version, it was raising the pool's temperature by 10 degrees over a period of 9 to 10 hours. Now, version 3, as we've seen it's doing it in only 4 to 5 hours. So we could safely say that version 3 can heat up the pool twice as fast as version 1, and that's exactly the goal I was aiming for. And here's the aftermath. It's kind of hard to see, but in the middle, there's some sort of a trail formed by the blown air. Once I remove most of the hash, I retest it for wind speed. And yeah, we do have a loss. Now we have 5.7 kph compared to the 6.8 at the starting point. But that's okay, that means more future improvements. Probably gonna add a part here to blow ashes off using a compressor. But that will be for the final episode, where I'll fix some minor issues and, most importantly, I'll try to heat up the pool for one last time during fall. When nights are cold, leaves are falling, and usually the pool is already closed for winter. Yeah, I want to see how far with better wood, not freaking dried cardboard, I can push that heater. But next video will be on the TIG setup, and then I do the final test for the heater, cause I'm still waiting for fall to come. Right. I'm Viny B. See you then.